Hello, I'm Roger Ailes. Tonight the question is, can a boy from a small town like Chagrin Falls, Ohio, population 4,000, navigate Hollywood's fast lane, star on television and in movies, pick up 4 Emmys, write plays that play to standing room only audiences, and be the envy of all in the world of comedy? The answer, of course, is no. But we invited Tim Conway to be here anyway. I'm going to read something here.
I'll wait here.
Tim Conway creates a character, whether in McHale's Navy or on the Carol Burnett Show or wherever. He puts his original stamp on it. A recent character of his, Dorf, which is a documentary of his life, is a sensation in the home video market, with some in the series having gone platinum and gold. His latest entry, Dorf Goes Fishing, is now for sale. Here he is, Tim Conway.
I have several of them in the car, in the trunk outside.
Do you?
Which, yes. So,
so I saw you out there sort of hustling our staff trying to sell these things.
Awfully tough here in New York, you know.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guys out there with hot dogs and things. What a charming little studio this is.
Nice?
This is wonderful.
Yeah,
yes,
I
haven't
here.
seen you in years.
20 years. You were Tom Conway when I last saw you.
I was Betty Conway at that time, too. Remember
yeah,
that?
you were Betty. We used to take you out on Friday night, as I recall.
That's right, yes. Dressed me up and sent me
get you
out of my
dressed
soul.
and we took you out, yeah.
We had some fun in Cleveland.
We did.
I love Cleveland.
You really were born in Chagrin Falls?
Yes, absolutely.
I learned to fly an airplane in Chagrin Falls. This is true. In 1962, on a grass strip, a J3, Piper J3. Did you have a little airfield there?
Yes, we did. Yeah, we closed it right after you were there.
Right after I was there, yeah. Well,
hitting those wires coming in. Yeah, outside of Chagrin Falls, that little airport. Yeah, tough one to get into. That was a kind of strange airport.
It was a very tricky airport to get into, which they didn't tell me before they let me solo.
Yeah, but that, I loved the Cleveland area, as did you, I'm sure. It was,
I loved it. It's my home. I mean, I grew up in Warren, Ohio, south of Cleveland. A guy that we both knew was program manager at what was then KYW. KYW moved to Philadelphia. This is complicated, but
we have time.
But we have time, so we're going to explain the FCC. We're going to actually read the FCC papers in the next segment to you.
It's only 4,000 pages. Can't be that bad.
And it would be perfect.
Chet Collier, yes.
Chet Collier was program manager. He is now executive producer of this network.
Wow.
And
I would have been so much nicer to him if I had known that he was actually headed in that direction. Boy, am I sorry now. Gosh, I could have used him.
Now, I was told that he actually liked you and thought you were very but he said to you you'd never make it in show business. Is that true?
He said you're fired. I think that's what.
Did he really fire?
No. I love Chet. He really was the first, not the first, but he was one of the guys who came in with really creative ideas and sent the station in a forward motion. You know, they were kind of in limbo there for a long time, as it were a lot of televisions at that time. And he had some very creative ideas and was moving forward. Unfortunately, I had some ideas that
we're going to regress the industry.
We're going to regress. Yes.
So they didn't match his.
So I went into his office on a Friday afternoon. He said he wanted to see me. You always know when you're going to get fired because it's usually on Friday.
Yeah. And Westinghouse always did it on Friday, right?
And about 4:30. Could you stop by about 4:30 on Friday? So you knew you were going to get the axe. So he had the words formed. And I jumped in with, I quit. Just got it in under you're fired. So you quit. I said, look, I'm going to another station. And I went to Channel 5 in Cleveland, from which I got fired there.
WEWS.
WEWS. Then I went to ABC, from which I got fired there. Then I went to several radio stations. But WEWS, Ernie Anderson, who was the voice of ABC on the Love Boat, that chap, we sold ourselves, I sold Ernie as talent and myself as a director to Channel 5. He had never been talent.
And you had never directed.
I had never directed. They didn't know that because we had worked at Channel 3, and they thought, well, they must know something about television.
You were a promotion writer, as I recall. Is that true?
Yes, I was, yeah. And in those days, you didn't have film or anything. You had a bunch of slides, and I could never get the slides numbered correctly. So they would come up with strange slides for movies that.
I remember those. I was an AD at that station, so I had to number the slides. I was the guy who got them out of order.
That's good. Yes, you're probably responsible for me getting canned. So I went over there as a director, and it was supposed to be Ernie with a chat show, and it was on from 9 till 10:30, and you had to do what you called back time the movie, so they would end at 10:30, which would be convenient for that day, so that you could see the whole movie. And,
it was tough going to the break and going to the news with the last 3 minutes of the movie.
And I couldn't do that. I never got the endings on for the first week, so people got annoyed, especially during Citizen Kane. They wanted to see the sled and everything. And I said, well, why don't we show the endings on Friday? So we showed
unreasonable people.
Terrible. So we showed the endings on Friday. Couldn't get any guests on the show because the show stunk, to be perfectly frank. And we would say things like, Bob Fuller's going to be on the show. Bob would call and go, "Are you kidding? I wouldn't be on that if you paid me." So we said, "Well, just talk to Bob, but he's caught in traffic." And eventually I was the guest because we couldn't get anybody. So I'd lock the camera on and come out, and I'd be the guest, too. So
You were
I was
the
director,
only
guest, and, yeah.
You may be the only director guest actually directing a show and being the guest at the same time.
Yeah, in television today,
Yep.
yeah. And
so you went on. Who discovered you? I heard various
Rosemary.
people. Rosemary. I heard Steve Allen. I wasn't sure where.
well, Rosemary took a tape that I was doing to Steve Allen. She said,
Okay.
"These guys are hysterical." When in reality, we were fighting for our lives. And Steve said, "That's funny," because I would come out and be a bullfighter, trumpet player, whatever he said at the time. And we happened to hit on a couple that were amusing. And Steve said, "Come on out." So.
Were you funny in school as a kid? I didn't know you back in I knew you when you were working, but I mean, did you get into trouble in school, or were you a serious student?
I was the smallest kid in my class, so I had to be humorous because
Yes,
the big
otherwise
guys
you
beat up
get
on you.
that.
Oh boy! So yeah, I was quite entertaining at that time. Very small school. It was only
Very small person in a very small school.
So you
Oh,
can
very
imagine. I had
interesting,
small
yeah.
clothing,
Small clothes, little shoes.
little shoes,
Yeah, I remember
little
that.
feet.
Yeah, I had.
And so I guess I was amusing. I didn't wear lampshades or things like that, but I had an interesting English teacher, a Miss Carroll, and a high school coach, Ralph Quisenberry, and a shop teacher, Mr. Fry. They kind of guided my life. I mean, there's important people along the way, and I could have gone either way. Either ended up as a bank robber, or what I did, and probably would have been more profitable to get into the bank robbing business at this stage.
Did you make a lot of money on McHale's Navy enough to retire, or no?
Absolutely, yeah.
You
I
did,
quit, and I was out about 2 weeks, and I found out it wasn't enough to go the rest of my life. So, no, as a matter of fact, those days, they didn't have residuals. You just did the show.
Right. Oh, that's right.
And then they said, we'll buy you out. They said it probably won't run more than 6 times. It's probably at least 200th rerun.
That's right.
And we were very smart and said, great, we'll take the money. So it was probably amounted to maybe $1,400, which I thought was a bright move on my part.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
no wonder you're out there doing
no
this.
wonder I'm here today.
You're
Yeah.
in there. I know you're auditioning for a job. You want to be the
Absolutely.
promotion writer for the network.
Right.
You'll have to go see Chet Collier.
Yes. So I did continue in the business, yes. I had several shows that were off in 13 weeks, as you know. I don't like them to go longer than 3rd week.
No, I think that's a real tedious thing. I mean, you get into the part, it starts to bore you. You want to get fired in 13 weeks.
How these people can go on 7, 10 years,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
make millions. I think it's really disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I got to do an awful lot in television because they were short shows.
Okay, now short shows, small people,
Small
little shoes.
Story of my life.
A lot of little things. Right. All right, I want to ask you about Dwarf. Now, Dwarf is a documentary of your life, as I was saying.
absolutely,
I mean,
yes.
they just had the camera follow you, and that's really you doing real stuff, isn't it? I mean,
Yes, it's just a silly little me. You know what I mean?
let me show you what this is about, because if you watch if you watch Americans Talking very often, or CNBC, you will see this as a commercial. So what you're about to see is not a commercial. Don't go to your, like to the John or something.
No.
Watch this, because we're going to come back and talk about it. This is a documentary of Tim Conway. Here it is.
At $18.95, you can set your pole and walk to the nearest cooler and back, knowing you're still going fishing. You see, you just place your pole in the dip dock locker, secure it, sit back, and enjoy a cold wind. And while you're enjoying a breather, if you should get a nibble, you can take your time getting back to that pole, because that pole ain't gonna go nowhere while it's securely locked in the dip dock locker. Break, knowing the dock locker is working for you.
I'll tell you something.
I tell you, what a guy.
You are a funny guy. How long does it take to shoot one of those? Because I'm sure setting up the dock falling off and that kind of, the physical stuff that happens takes time to set up.
Yeah, actually, we did that in about a week. The first one we did, Dorf on Golf, we did in 2 days because we didn't know what we were doing. But then we got, of course, we knew what we were doing, so then it took us a week.
How have the sales on the series gone? Because it is funny. I mean, I watch it every time the commercial comes up.
They have been phenomenal. Yeah, the Dorf on Golf and the Dorf on Fishing, it's one of those little things. The strange thing about it is that it has never been on television, or it's never been a movie or something. So it's kind of hard to, to make a sale in that area because people don't know really what they're buying. But it's been quite successful, actually.
30 seconds to a break. Give me 3 words to describe Dorf. I mean, who is Dorf? What are the words you...
3 words would be difficult, but he's a strange-talking guy who has a strange voice that kind of mesmerizes you after a while. He says a lot of things, and not that they're too funny, but you can talk for a long time with that voice, and eventually you will say nothing.
5 seconds. We'll be back with the great Tim Conway right after these messages. Stay with us.
Concentration. That's the important thing.
Looks like the sand again.
Apparently is.
Oh, those are great
I
gifts,
tell
by
you,
the way.
so
What do they
good.
sell for, those tapes?
$300. We only sold
$300 one. But if you
don't-
you only have to sell a few at that rate.
I think they're $19.95 or something of that nature.
They have this
probably.
special pricing for those kinds of tapes, like
Yes.
the Victor Borge tape and those kind of things.
Right, yeah.
Rush
they,
Limbaugh is going to come out with a tape soon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, great. It'll be a big tape. Yeah,
Yeah, it'll be a big tape as
Huge.
opposed to a little
one.
Little
yeah,
tape.
these are
yeah.
little tapes. These are half-hour tapes. Yeah.
Did you got 6 kids?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
All you're claiming? I mean, are there
All
any
6.
that you haven't claimed? or
I have
would you like to make an announcement?
Well, I have a wife who had a daughter, so that's now 7, and could be one in Guam. You know how lonely it was during the war. But I haven't been back there, you know. No, a total of 7. Yeah, that
Total
I'm
of 7.
responsible for. If you'd like any of them, let me know. We can make
Was it difficult for your kids to take you seriously as a father?
Probably, because I approached life on a comedic vein. Yeah, I don't think that I
So
really...
when they like wrecked your car, you still could stay funny, or
screams. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, I don't think I ever really punished them. I don't know. They'd have to come here individually and declare that. As
We've booked them, and we want
Really?
they're gonna
They'll
tell us
you
about
then.
you. Yeah.
No, I don't think I ever raised a hand to them. I booted them around a little bit, but never really.
You never
no.
spanked them?
Not that I actually know of. No,
Really?
I always felt that a humorous approach to reprimanding somebody was a little bit better.
And how did they turn out?
They're all criminals. Yeah, they're all pretty much they're in prison. Yeah, what?
See, I knew
Yeah,
that.
so it doesn't pay off. I just said that was my approach.
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
your
say
approach, and it was
Yeah,
experimental.
yeah,
It was
went-
probably part of a government experiment at one time. wasn't it?
Absolutely, yes, and it proved that it didn't work 6 times.
Are you an intelligent guy? Because comedy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most comics
I mean,
are.
do you feel? Yeah, they actually
Yeah.
are. They are smart.
Not really. I stopped reading in 1965.
Well, that's right when the war heated up there in
Yeah, my
Vietnam,
eyes
and it was
started getting
there was a lot
blurry
of bad press during that
Didn't
time.
really.
So
I very seldom listen to the news because it's so frightening, and my wife gets scared of it. So I don't listen to the news. I don't read. So I know very little about what's going on in the world today, and I find it very comforting.
so you
Once in a while, a guy will say, "Hey."
you don't have a strong opinion about the impact on human rights of our Tibetan policy with
I
the,
do.
that
Isn't
you-
it strange that you would touch on that? Yeah. No, but for instance, I've glanced once in a while at television. I understand this O.J. fella got into some kind of problem out there. I don't know what that's
Yeah,
all
I'd
about.
say
but
that
anyway,
he
some
did.
kind
Yeah,
of speeding
yeah. I
problem
think
or
you
something
can
like
safe
that.
to say he won't be on the Super Bowl.
And
doing
that is about the only part of the news that I actually.
Hey,
watch.
what, because you have this humorous approach, does that come, they say that comics come from pain. Did you have pain as a child? I mean, did you have a painful child? Did your parents tough on you?
Isn't that crazy? But no. No, they didn't, and I'm sorry they weren't because we'd have something to talk about. But no, they weren't. They were very nice. My mother was great, and as I say, these teachers had surrounded me. My dad was great. I didn't have any relatives. My dad was an orphan. My mother had relatives all in Romania. Please, no more applause. I love Romanians. So I had nobody really outside of a mother and father. I would say that humor probably got me in trouble more times than not. In the Army, I spent a few extra months in the Army because they didn't have a sense of humor. I did, and those, not the big court-martials, you know, with 7 guys, but with the little ones, the little,
Little- yeah,
ones.
little feet, little
ones.
shows, little clothes, and little
3
court-martials.
Yeah, the 3 guys who would
Yeah.
say, you know.
What did they do to you in the Army? Did you like the Army?
I did, but you know, when you go in, you automatically come out a corporal. I mean, there's very few guys who go in a private.
That's true.
and
It's
come out.
hard
Yeah.
to not get out of corporal.
I went in a private and came out a zip.
Below private.
Yeah, the low private. And they actually do tear your stripes off. You know, that's part of that thing. But I also found you had to take a little of the stitching off so that the guy could get a good hold on it and rip it off, so he wouldn't be standing there looking like a fool trying to peel that thing off.
It's going to be embarrassing.
But yeah, I got into a little bit of. I lost my rifle on guard duty.
That's not good.
And they got real annoyed about that. I didn't lose it. I was on guard duty, guarding a service club with the pool balls and ping pong balls. Who's going to attack that at night, you know?
Yeah.
So I got in the back of a Buick and fell asleep. And I got up and I forgot my rifle in the Buick, and in the meantime, the lieutenant was coming around to check on the guards at 2 o'clock,
right.
and I didn't have a rifle. And you're supposed to say, halt, and pretend like you're putting a bullet in the chamber. They, of course, didn't give me any ammo because I'd have killed him. So I had no ammo, but you do that bolt action thing. And you're supposed to say, halt, advance to be recognized, and he gives his name, rank, and serial number and all of that. And he says, how are things going?
And you're supposed to shoot him if it's wrong?
Yeah, and you say the ping pong balls are all here, whatever you know. But I didn't have a rifle, so I went to the garbage and got out one of those long fluorescent tube lights. And I had that, and he came around the corner, and I said, halt, advance to be recognized, which he did, and gave me a serial number and everything. And he noticed that I had a neon bulb and said, what is that? And I thought he could figure that out. I said, it's a neon bulb. And from there, I went to a small court-martial, and then I picked up rocks for 2 weeks and took it from here and put them over there.
No sense of humor, those
None.
guys. And look at it this way. Did you lose any ping pong balls?
No.
So you were not responsible for it.
And I held him at bay with this
With
light
the
bulb.
neon. He stopped, didn't he? He gave his name record.
It's much cheaper than
I
rifles. You
think
know, they
it's
were
that
spending a fortune on rifles. You
Anybody
get these
could have
bulbs,
used.
could
I
hold back
think-
an entire nation. I
I
said, you
never
come any
thought of
closer,
that.
I'll turn this light on.
I never thought
You
of
know,
that. Carol Burnett, what kind of a lady is she?
Beautiful. You know, I wish I had something to say about
come
her
on,
that
you
was bad, you know, but no, she's...
Tell me some real dirt. I mean, I know
Yeah.
everybody loves Carol. She's the greatest. She's a
I
great
know.
entertainer. I mean,
And
she must
annoying.
be
There's
mean.
nothing,
and
absolutely.
Nothing. She's nice, isn't
I've
she?
known her for, over 20 years, 25
Yeah, I
years.
worked with her. She was on Douglas back in those days, too, a few times.
She just is the nicest doggone person you ever want to meet. She never has an unkind word, which is annoying.
No, that's not true of Harvey Korman.
No, Harvey. No, his success depends on other people's failure, as you know.
We got to take a break. Harvey, stay tuned, because there's more about you coming up. Comedian, actor, writer, creator of Dorf, Tim Conway. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. Okay, Harvey, during the break, Tim told me a lot of things about you that were really, I think, unkind, frankly, and personal, of a personal nature. Would you like to repeat any of those on the air, or do you want to pass
this
and move on?
poor man, my goodness gracious.
You carried him, as you said, for years, didn't you?
Painful, you know, painful. That's what a burden on me, but, you know, you try it.
Hey,
These things
look, the
happen.
guy who needed the work.
Very poor
I thought it was
performer.
very kind of you, the way you carried him.
He and I are actually probably, he's probably one of my best friends. I say that because he might be watching, you know, and he's lonely. He really is. I got custody of him after the show went off. But we still have that same relationship. I guess it's Jack Benny, George Burns. You know, he looks at me and he falls down. And it's,
For some reason, you broke him up. I mean, you've always been known sort of as a comic, which is a fairly narrow audience. But
I made that up.
I know, it was good. But it is true that other comics, other guys in the business, I mean, producers, writers, we all get Tim, because a lot of what he does is very subtle and unintended, because he doesn't even know he's being funny. But it is true that Corman, give me an example of what you guys trying to do a scene and he would fall apart.
Well, I was a writer on the show, so I could write one thing and say another thing, and then he would try to come up with things to break me up, which were seldom worked, and he would do a lot of things that would, and I would just stare at him, and he'd go, and he'd fall apart. He never quite could get to it, yes. But I see him on Monday, because he sees his psychiatrist on Monday, and he's usually very upset by the
Did he
end
come
of the
over to your place after that?
Yeah.
Or what? Yeah.
And then we go out to dinner, and he can't eat, so I get to eat most of his meal. And then if I really annoy him, he goes back on Thursday, and then we have dinner again on Thursday. But yeah, he's in serious trouble.
He is. Yeah. Is he on Prozac, or is anything like
should
that?
be, if
He
he
should be.
isn't. Yeah.
But he's.
Yeah.
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 Well, is he dangerous, or?
Oh,
is
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I try to keep him in his house.
Do you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Confined to his home.
He's not like legally he has to stay there or anything, but he'd be better for society if he was there.
I'm trying to get a petition. Yeah, to see if we can, have him permanently locked up would be good. Then I could really poke fun at him. Yeah.
He's not a suspect in the OJ thing, though. I don't think.
Not to the best of my knowledge.
No, okay.
Doesn't have the brain.
Well, couldn't have pulled off the conspiracy, right?
Not at all.
Okay. When Carol Burnett decided to give it up, was that the end of the great variety shows and comedy shows on television? 'Cause
I believe that slammed the door shut, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen one since then. That they've had a couple try, but sitcoms seem to have taken over and some dramatic series.
Yeah, I think that formula went away with Carol. That was, and she quit at the right, not quit, well, she did quit, but I mean, you know, I'm sure she could have gone on probably for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, but that show, she knew when to get off the stage.
Absolutely.
And she got off.
Yeah.
But I miss those shows. They say everything comes in cycles, but Ed Sullivan and the Carol Burnett Show and those kinds of shows don't seem to be coming back. Why
There
is
were 17 different variety shows on when we were on, and then they all just, you know, the network decided that they were going to get rid of the country kind of the Jim Neighbors type things, and Carol just said, you know, I see the axe coming in a sense, and I'm going to quit. We thought she was nuts, and we're going to have her put away, but actually Harvey and I still do the show.
Oh, you do it?
Yeah,
You go over to the studio anyway?
Every Friday, yeah.
I think that's good. I think it's good. It kind of keeps up old ties.
They don't tape it or anything, but we
No,
do.
but I mean, well, it's an empty stage now,
Of course.
isn't it? Yeah, are the sets still there or anything?
Yeah, and we still get the coffee. Guys
You get the
still there
coffee,
with
and
coffee.
they have props and everything, and you get
Donuts.
dressed up in the costumes and do the thing.
There you go.
You write it every week, too?
Oh, yes.
Hey,
Well,
sit
sure,
home
you
and write it,
have to
huh?
have something to say.
Any of your kids in show business? It'd be
Actually,
hard
most
not
of them are
for-
kind of surrounding it, yeah.
Yeah.
One of my sons, Tim, is in San Diego now producing a show. It's kind of like the San Diego Baywatch. My daughter Kelly's in wardrobe. I have my wife's daughter is just graduated from the academy. I have another son who plays an instrument, a musical instrument. He's kind of in it. And, a couple of other boys who are, you know, called on when show business comes. And one is going to be a pro golfer, so he's the only one who's not really in show business.
And they've all ended up in prison. I think that's
Yes, yeah,
that's
it's kind
good.
of
Well,
it's interesting.
listen, do you miss the name Tom when the people call Tom? You grew up the first 20 years of your life as Tom Conway.
Yeah.
And then
I don't know. Do you like your first name? I never liked
no,
my
I never
first
liked
name.
it. In fact, I use Tom.
Yeah.
I have people call me Tom.
Well,
'Cause I
my-
like that better than Roger, but some people still call
Better
me Roger.
than being called Betty or something.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
got 10 seconds. Tim?
Yes.
You're great. Bye, Dorf.
Okay.
The tape, not you. You can
Oh,
keep.
it's me? Oh.
He's down on 57th Street. They're in the trunk of his car. They're 1995. Tim Conway. We'll see you in a minute.